We're getting started at number 10 with the one and only Cher. If there's one celebrity I wouldn't want to mess with, it is Cher. I mean, you gotta admit, it's not all that surprising to see her on this list. She doesn't really take crap from anybody, and she's been known for speaking her mind and just saying things how it is. But one thing she really doesn't like is when you suggest that she is a liar. Back in 2017, Cher tweeted out, "Those who can must take a dreamer into their home and protect them. I'm ready to do this, and others in my business will do the same. Sanctuary." In reply to her tweet, one fan wrote, "Sure you will, Cher. I'll believe it when I see it," implying that Cher's words weren't genuine. But she paid the price because it took no time at all for the icon to clap back. Cher responded the best way she knows how with some sass, saying, "Then keep your eyes open." B word. You're gonna beep it out anyway, but it's the B word. Next up at number 9 is Simone Biles. The American Olympic gymnast is a fierce competitor, and it shows with her 30+ Olympic and World Championship medals. She's only 22 years old, but don't think for a second you can say whatever you want to her and not expect a clap back. When you watch her perform on TV, she's often smiling and showing off her sweet, bubbly personality. So some people might try and take advantage of it. She was receiving praise from the judges after one of her performances, and the host Tom Bergeron said, "I was waiting for you to smile at some of the compliments. You didn't." Apparently she doesn't like being told to smile because she responded with,
"Smiling doesn't win you gold medals."
Damn right it doesn't. I would have a lot of gold medals. In spot number 7 is Chrissy Teigen. If she was a Friends character, she would totally be Chandler for sure because she is witty, sassy, and sarcastic as hell. And the best part is she has no shame in it and always keeps things transparent with her fans through social media. Realistically, there are a ton of times that she has clapped back at people. She's clapped back at the President of the United States on Twitter. She's clapped back at magazines who wrote fake stories about her, but she mainly claps back at her haters, and it is hilarious. I can't share them all because I don't have time for that, but one sassy remark came after a girl tweeted at her saying, "And what exactly is your job besides being a bully, rude, and married to John Legend?" Chrissy responded with, "You just listed 3 jobs. You want me to have more than 3 jobs?" So rather than feeling the need to prove and defend herself that she's more than just that, she just insults herself more and just laughs it off. Love her! Rolling to the number 6 spot is Finn Wolfhard. I'm a bit surprised with this one because he just doesn't seem like the type of person to snap back when someone grinds his gears. But I'm sure he surprised more than just me when he tweeted back at the beauty YouTuber James Charles after he dissed one of his movies. Finn is one of the lead roles in the iconic It movie series, and James apparently didn't like it. Back in 2017 he tweeted out, "Okay, 5 minutes in and it is already awful, stay tuned for updates." Obviously something that no actor would want to hear, but Finn clapped back and responded with, "Why are you on your phone in the movie theater? Rule 1. Fact, Finn. It is rule number 1 to not be on your phone in the movie theater. Proper etiquette. Halfway through at number 5 is Sharon Osbourne. She didn't clap back as much as she basically just dropped a bomb. Back in 2017, Kendall and Kylie Jenner released some new products for their clothing line, and one of their t-shirts had her husband on it, Ozzy Osbourne. But it turns out they used his picture without permission, and Sharon felt that it was necessary to defend her husband's reputation. She dropped the bomb on Twitter and tweeted out a picture of their shirt and captioned it, "Girls, you haven't earned the right to put your face with musical icons. Stick to what you know. Lip gloss." So she basically clapped back at their shirt design, but she didn't really leave room for them to clap back because realistically, what could they possibly say back to that? She ain't wrong, in a sense. You think because you're a Jenner and a Kardashian that you can just do that? Moving along to number 4, we have Lady Gaga. She gave a killer performance during the Super Bowl halftime show back in 2017, but haters are gonna hate, and some trolls online started shaming her body online afterwards. The insults were going on for days, and rather than taking the time to respond to each of them individually, which would take basically 900 years, Gaga clapped back with an Instagram post. She wrote, "I heard my body is the topic of conversation, so I wanted to say, I'm proud of my body and you should be proud of yours too. No matter who you are or what you do. I could give you a million reasons why you don't need to cater to anyone or anything to succeed. Be you and be relentlessly you. That's the stuff of champions." Not only did she clap back, but she also did it in a very classy way, which is truly the ultimate clapback. You know, killing them with kindness, that is the ultimate revenge. In our third spot is Lily Reinhart. Who would have ever thought that Betty from Archie Comics would have a little bit of fight in her? Lily plays the role of Betty on the hit TV series Riverdale, and it's easy to fall in love with her sweet and innocent personality. But in real life, she does not take crap from strangers. On multiple occasions, the actress has clapped back at the haters. But one of my favorites is when she responded to people on Twitter who were body shaming her. Apparently this is just a trend these days. It would be hard to read comments like that and not lose your cool, but she handled it like a champ and tweeted out, "Thank you so much for being concerned about my weight. I'll respond later after I finish my double cheeseburger." I honestly love that. She just completely seems unbothered, and that probably made the haters even more annoyed. Like, they were probably trying to get under her skin, but she's just gonna eat a cheeseburger instead. Taking over our number 2 spot is Hilary Clinton. 2017 was a big year filled with an epic feud between Donald Trump and Hillary, who were both in the running to become the next president. For obvious reasons, there was tension between the two of them, and Hillary couldn't resist clapping back to one of his insulting tweets. Trump tweeted out, "Crooked Hillary Clinton blames everybody and everything but herself for her election loss. She lost the debates and lost her direction." She responded to him not with a returning insult, but with knowledge, I guess. Her response was a picture of her book called It Takes a Village, and she captioned it, "If you didn't like that book, try this one. Some good lessons in here about working together to solve problems. Happy to send a copy." Oh yeah, Hillary, I'm sure he wants you to send him a copy of your book. Like, you might as well just sign it for him too. We've made it to number 1, and we have Gigi Hadid. The model stirred the pot recently after she clapped back at Jake Paul, who started to insult her man online. It's still not clear what caused the feud between Jake and Zayn Malik, but Jake started going off on Twitter saying, "Almost had to clap up Zayn from One Direction because he is a little guy and has an attitude, and basically told me to F off for no reason when I was being nice to him. Zayn, I know you're reading this, stop being angry because you came home alone to your big hotel room." Most people were expecting a response from Zayn, but instead his on and off girlfriend Gigi replied with, "LOL, cause he doesn't care to hang with you and your embarrassing crew of YouTube groupies. Home alone with his best friends like a respectful king cause he has me, sweetie. Unbothered by your irrelevant, ugly go to bed." I mean, I like that she's sticking up for her man, but I feel like if you're really unbothered by something, you don't respond. Just saying. Beginning the countdown list in our number 10 spot is Pink. She scored the gig of singing the national anthem before the 2018 Super Bowl, which isn't totally surprising because she is wildly talented. If you watched it, she sounded incredible and had plenty of support from fellow celebrities and her fans. What made it more impressive was that we found out that she actually had the flu while hitting all of her high notes in her performance. But not everyone was nice and supportive about it. One Twitter user tweeted out, "If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Pink sucks, and if you like her singing, you're dumb. Hashtag Super Bowl." Pink had no problem clapping back and responded saying, "At least I suck while singing our country's national anthem, and you just suck by yourself on a dirty couch. Hashtag winning." I mean, both of you would assume that they're sitting on a dirty couch. Not just a couch, it's a dirty couch. Up next, number 9 is One Direction. This boy band splitting up was heartbreaking news for a lot of fans, but what was more disheartening was that it didn't end on good terms. The boys, who seemed like best friends, practically brothers, ended with a lot of tension and drama between them. Two of them, Zayn and Louis, both started their own solo careers after the split and had it out with each other on Twitter back in 2016. Louis tagged Zayn in a comment saying, "Jesus, forgot you were such an in-demand producer. How does it feel to be riding on the back of someone else's career?" Zayn was quick to clap back and said, "Remember when you had a life and stopped making comments about mine? We're not sure who the real winner is here, but I'd be lying if I said I did not miss the days when they all got along." I loved One Direction. Bless their little hearts. Cruising into number 8 is Cardi B. Now, this can't be surprising to anyone. We all know this girl has no filter at all. She claps back pretty much 25 times a day, and it is so entertaining to watch, so if you don't follow her, go follow her. One of the funniest clapbacks she had is when people were speculating that she might be pregnant. She was quick to shut down those rumors on Instagram when someone commented saying, "There's a Kylie Jenner secret we need to know about," referring to when Kylie hid her pregnancy from the world. Cardi set the record straight by saying, "No bitch, I'm just getting fat. Let me be fat in peace." I love her. Moving along into number 7, we have Nicki Minaj. She had some beef with someone you really wouldn't expect, Wendy Williams. Many people tune into the Wendy Williams show because she dishes out all the hot topics and the shade and tea that goes along with it. Some of her comments have ruffled some feathers in the past, and one time it happened to be Nicki's feathers. Wendy made some comments about Nicki's husband's criminal background, about being a registered sex offender, and the rapper wasn't too thrilled about it. She clapped back at her comments on Queen Radio and started to comment about Wendy's husband, who cheated on her for years and actually had a child with the mistress. Nicki said, "You're sat up there being vicious all the time and paid for that man's mistress for all those years. You paid for her shopping sprees, you paid for her hotels, you even paid for her GYN bills. You paid to have that baby delivered." Yikes. Personally, I feel like they both just went too far in the situation. Like, no one needs to go at their personal lives and their marriages and relationships. I feel like that was a little bit much. Swiping the number 6 spot is Kim Kardashian. I have to give you guys 2 examples because they are actually both really good, and I'm kind of surprised that Kim is this clever. One time she clapped back was in 2018 when Perez Hilton posted a picture of her new hair and captioned it, "Kim K's new look. Thoughts?" Lindsay Lohan wrote on it saying, "I am confused." Kim was quick to clap back at her and responded with, "You know what's confusing? Your sudden foreign accent." Referring to that weird accent that Lindsay randomly had going on during that time. Still don't know what was going on there. Another example is when her sister Chloe got some hate from her ex Lamar Odom. An article was posted on Twitter of a quote that he said during an interview, and he spoke about their marriage and why it was over. He said, "I knew it was over when she was on her 2nd or 3rd NBA player." Kim replied with, "Or 2nd or 3rd brothel," referring to when he had been found overdosed in a Vegas brothel back in 2015. Yikes. I mean, I understand sticking up for your sister. I've been there, I would do it for sure. But yikes. We are halfway through at number 5 and we have Kelly Ripa. The actress and talk show host had no problem ripping on an Instagram user who tried to insult her husband. That is what I like to see. I love seeing ladies sticking up for their men. The user was being rude for no reason at all, as they usually are. Kelly posted a cute throwback picture of her and her husband, and someone commented saying, "Too bad he's short when he tries to look taller. It looks funny, just be who you are." But she was not letting them get away with that comment, and she wrote back saying, "He's tall where it counts, babe." Well, I guess it settles that then. Not that we need to know that information, but thanks. Coming into our number 4 spot is Alyssa Milano. Another time that Wendy Williams ruffled the feathers of a celebrity. During one of her show segments, which Alyssa was a guest on, the two of them started discussing the topic of breastfeeding in public. Their personal opinions started to clash, and Wendy said, "Breastfeeding is only a particular amount of time. The rest of your life, your breasts are sexual things." But Alyssa, who regularly posts photos of herself breastfeeding her daughter on her Instagram, clapped back and said, "Biologically, they're not made for sexual things. That's what we've done to them." In the 3rd spot is Kelly Clarkson. Lesson of the day, don't call Kelly Clarkson fat. Well, don't call anyone fat, for that matter. People started body shaming her in recent years when she started gaining weight, but she's made it clear that she doesn't care what people have to say about it. She's been open about her weight gain and had no problem clapping back at someone who tried to make her feel bad about it. A Twitter user commented on one of her posts calling her fat, and she simply replied with, "And still effing awesome." She literally took their insult and turned it into a compliment for herself. And I love that. I'm gonna start doing that. Winning spot number 2 is Sofia Vergara. One con about being a celebrity is that people are always in your personal business. A magazine was once claiming that Sofia and her husband were getting a divorce and that their marriage was going through struggles. But Sofia wanted to set the record straight, so she took matters into her own hands. She posted a screenshot of the magazine cover on Instagram and captioned it, "The editor of this magazine is an idiot. If he is going to have my ring removed to create fake news, he should have made sure that he removed it from social media and all the other pictures of that award night in Rome where I'm wearing it." The magazine was also claiming that the male she was with could be the reason why her marriage is failing, so she also pointed out that it was just a friend and the producer of the movie that she was shooting in Rome during that time. Apparently he is friends of her family and even spent Easter weekend with them just a week later. So that is just a lot of fake news going on. Finally, in our number 1 spot is Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. I saved this one for first place because it is my favorite. I personally adore them as a couple. This one is just another example of magazines trying to create fake news and celebrities exposing the actual truth. Back in 2019, In Touch Weekly ran a cover story claiming that their marriage was in danger and the two of them did not let it slide. So they filmed a video response and posted it to Instagram calling out the magazine for being fake. In the video, the two of them joke around and Ashton says, "Well, I guess it's over. In Touch Weekly, have fun selling magazines this week. Maybe next week my wife will be having twins for the third time, but who's counting?" Not only did they prove the magazine wrong, but they also proved once again why we love them so much. Hashtag couple goals.
At number 10, Oprah. Oprah seems like a pretty chill person, so to hear that she sort of lost her cool is certainly surprising. One of the few instances that I've seen her get upset comes from an interview where Oprah was being grilled for her weight. In a 1985 interview with Joan Rivers, Oprah was getting fat shamed left, right, and center, and it was pretty painful to watch. You can see how angry Oprah was getting at this point, and there's so much more to this interview which shows the countless times Oprah was being shamed and disrespected in front of a live audience no less. At times throughout this interview, Oprah would try to explain something or deflect Joan's criticisms, but it didn't really work, and Joan just kept firing some hurtful words at her. Years later, Oprah went on to say how even 30 years later, this interview still hurt. In an interview with The Talk, Oprah said, quote, "I was 30 years old and it was the biggest moment of my life. I'd made it to the Tonight Show, but essentially Joan called me fat. I was called out as being the fat girl on national TV as a surprise, and I felt immense shame about it. I could cry right now thinking about that moment," end quote. Oprah tried clapping back with every insult, but it just kept making it worse, making for an overall very uncomfortable situation. At number 9, Robert Downey Jr. During the press tour for Avengers Age of Ultron, actor Robert Downey Jr. sat down with Channel 4 reporter Krishnan Guru Murthy for an interview that soon took a turn. In the interview, Krishnan asked Downey what seemed to have been an offensive question when he said, quote, "The reason I'm asking you about your past is you've talked in other interviews about your relationship with your father and the role in all of that, all of the dark periods you went through, taking drugs and drinking and all that. I just wondered whether you think you were free of that or whether that's something ... and that's as far as he got. RDJ cut him off mid-sentence and asked, quote, "What are we doing? Are we promoting a movie?" Then he looked off camera at, I'm guessing, his manager or publicist who gave him the okay, then he got up and stormed out of the interview. As you're probably aware, Robert has had a tumultuous past and it's honestly within his rights to avoid being asked about it, so obviously this interviewer had struck a serious nerve. He later went on to call the interview a bottom-feeding muckraker, so he certainly got his clap back. Now before we carry on with the rest of the list, I would like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really does help support the channel. At number 8, Paris Hilton. For years, no one really took Paris Hilton seriously. We all saw her as a spoiled, rich socialite, but there was so much more to her that we didn't know yet. I think out of most celebrities out there, Paris Hilton is one of the most misunderstood. For a long time, whenever she was in the news for something negative, people would think that she deserved it because she needed to be humbled or something, but after her YouTube documentary came out about her real life, people's opinions changed and now we see her in a different light. In 2011, Paris did an interview where she tried to talk about her reality show and things just did not go well. All the interviewer wanted to talk about was her place in Hollywood and in the media, and when she tried to steer the conversation towards the show, the interviewer just sort of laughed and brushed it off as her being a diva. If you really watch the whole interview, these guys are really just jerks, so I can't blame Paris for getting mad and annoyed. Years later, she came out to talk about how angry that interview made her and how disgusted she was with the hosts, and again, I can't blame her. She got to call them out for the way they treated her and she got her justice. At number 7, Scarlett Johnason. Scarlett Johnason is probably best known these days for playing the character of Natasha Romanoff or Black Widow in the MCU, and if you're familiar with her character's costume, then you know it's a skin-tight bodysuit type of situation. Well, apparently this costume somehow blows the minds of many, and a lot of people want to know if she's wearing any undergarments with her supersuit. Why? Who knows? Well, since Scarlett has had so many people ask her this question in the past, she started getting pretty fed up with it, so when it came to another interview when someone asked her about her underwear situation, she actually got pretty upset and had to clap back. I feel like this is one of those issues that women in Hollywood are all too familiar with, because for some reason, all people want to know is what they're wearing and stuff like that, which is pretty dumb, so good on Scarlett for clapping back. At number 6, Samuel L. Jackson. Actor Samuel L. Jackson is certainly not someone who takes BS from anyone. I just feel like he won't hesitate to clap back when he feels like something is up. An example of a moment where he fired back at an interviewer comes from a TV interview the actor did back in 2014, where a TV news anchor mistook Samuel L. Jackson for Lawrence Fishburne, and his reaction was both intense and a little funny. The news anchor started off their interview by asking the actor about his Super Bowl commercial, but soon he was corrected into realizing that the commercial was from Lawrence Fishburne and not Samuel.
I'm not Lawrence Fishburne. That's my fault. I know that. That was my fault. My mistake. You know what?
We don't all look alike.
Flavia, you're
We may
exactly
be all
right.
black and famous,
You
but
are
we all don't look
guilty.
alike.
In response to this apparently very common mix-up, Samuel told the news anchor that he is in fact not Lawrence Fishburne, and then goes on to say that though he and Fishburne are very successful black men, that they are not in fact the same person. I'm pretty sure he was joking a little bit at this moment, but there also seemed to be a little bit of frustration mixed in there too. You could sort of tell how the interviewer looked embarrassed in that moment, but I guarantee you that they never made that mistake again. Halfway through at number 5, Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers was a funny, sassy, and all-around fun woman. She said herself that she was put on this earth to make people laugh, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she couldn't lose her cool either. Joan was a relatively patient person when it came to the press, because she knew to take everything they say with a grain of salt, but there came a moment where she was so upset by an interview that she just stormed out. This happened when she was being interviewed by CNN about one of her books. During the interview, the reporter started off by asking about Joan's book and her life, but then the questions turned and became a little more negative and judgmental. The reporter started commenting on Joan's comedy style and suggesting that some of her jokes could be a little shocking and rude, and then she went on to comment on the fact that Joan was wearing fur on the cover of the book. This, on top of all the other criticisms that she was receiving in the interview, got Joan mad, and she kind of went off on the reporter.
I work for animal rights. Stop it with, and you do this, and you're mean, and you're that. You are not the one to interview a person who does humor. Sorry.
Are we serious? You could really tell that Joan was fed up with this interview, and so she just stormed out. At number 4, Gary Coleman. The late Gary Coleman had a pretty successful career, but he also faced some scrutiny around his suspected domestic altercations with his wife. Before his passing, he was asked about his alleged quarrels with his partner during a number of interviews, and though he denied ever having laid a hand on his partner, that never stopped people from prying. Being suspected of hurting others made him very upset over time, as he was always being grilled on this, and we definitely saw his breaking point during an interview on The Insider. During the interview, Coleman was being grilled about his place in the media and the allegations that he had been facing, and as he continuously turned down these allegations and scrutiny, the interviewer just kept pushing until Gary snapped and began yelling at them, calling them names, and saying some other disrespectful things. After being interrogated and getting increasingly angrier, he stormed out of the interview. Though they tried calling him back, he was just too upset to return. At number 3, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is known for being pretty chill and laid back, and you never really see her get upset much, but one interview back in 2015 really set her over the edge, and she had to clap back at the interviewer for it. This happened when Taylor was stopped for a quick interview while she was walking the red carpet at the Grammys in 2015. The interviewer asked the camera to get a shot of Taylor's legs in the dress, and then goes on to make a comment saying, quote, "I just wanted to show the legs because as I was telling you ahead of time, I think you're going to walk home with more than just a trophy tonight. I think lots of men," end quote. A completely inappropriate and disgusting comment on the interviewer's part there. Clearly angered by the interviewer's comment, Taylor replies with, quote, "I'm not going to walk home with any men tonight. I'm going to hang out with my friends, and then I go home to the cats. Men get me in trouble," end quote. That's some seriously messed up energy in that whole interview. Don't assume what people are going to do with their personal time, and don't assume that people are dressing a certain way for anyone else but themselves. At number 2, Tom Hardy. Actor Tom Hardy seems like a relatively decent guy, staying out of trouble in the media and such, but he's also not afraid to call someone out, especially in an interview. In one instance where an interviewer clearly made Tom a little angry, he was being asked about his sexuality during a press conference at the Toronto International Film Festival. The journalist asked Tom if he thought that other celebrities have a hard time embracing their sexuality in the media. Why this was a question, I'm not sure, and Tom really didn't know either. You could tell that he was a little taken aback and frustrated with this question, as it didn't have anything to do with why they were having that press conference, and so he asked to clarify the question. When he asked the reporter if they were asking about his own sexuality and they replied, "Sure," he answered back with, "Why?" Gave up, and then moved on to someone else's question. Just that simple "why" was enough to really show that he was frustrated with that reporter. It was a subtle clapback, but it still got the point across. And finally, at number 1, Ariana Grande. Ariana has done a lot of really cool interviews in the past, but there's one in particular that will stick with a lot of people because of Ariana's legendary clapback to some sexist comments made by the interviewers. During the radio interview, Ariana was asked if she either had to use makeup or her phone one last time, which one would she choose? As if this was such a life-altering decision for her to make. Instead of answering the question, the singer clapped back asking, quote, "Is this really what you think girls have trouble choosing between?" To which one of the radio hosts replied, "Yes. yes. Then they follow into a debate over if Ariana can actually live without these things, and they got into a bit of an argument. I think what really made her mad here was the sexism embedded in the question, the fact that these guys assume that all girls are obsessed with their phones and makeup, which is just all kinds of incorrect, but I digress. I just love how Ariana threw it back in their faces and they looked stunned, so good on ya, Ari.